Well, one thing that I noticed like this week, and my mind is starting to change. I know that I was an original hater of the idea of Chase Meidroth being a shortstop. Now, James will back me up and he will say, Josh, we interviewed Chase at Sox Fest and we asked him about playing shortstop, and he immediately answered that his preferred position was second
Yeah,
base.
he might be the original hater.
I
Might
like
be number
wonder like
two.
was there some degree of like because he's a cautious interviewer, like Colson Montgomery was getting the biggest cheers or some of the biggest cheers of that convention. Was he not trying to say like, oh, I'll play shortstop when he knows like the shortstop of the future is there? But then
Hmm.
again, like we our angle was like Oregon kind of sold him as like the multi-position guy. Like we thought we might even see like Chase Meidroth play left field, like more of a Josh Rojas type of position
Yeah.
distribution. And he was a bit more like, I mean, shortstop, second baseman's really what I played. I mean, I suppose I could play shortstop as well. Like he wasn't kind of taking the bait on that. And maybe it's just because he knew he was going to hit like an everyday player and he wasn't going to have to do all this bouncing around nonsense. So
Yeah. Well, defensively, like watching him all week at home, I think my mind has changed because I was really concerned about my draw size at shortstop. I was concerned about his range. I was concerned about his throwing arm. Statcast loves my Droth's range at shortstop. And I just noticed, yeah, he doesn't have like the leaping ability, Jim. He's not Tim Anderson or Alexei Ramirez that can, they had the height and they had the hops to rob some line drive base hits by leaping. He doesn't have that. But Meidroth covers ground very well. He makes excellent diving stops and gets on his feet very quickly and makes strong throws towards first base. He's making athletic double plays at second base. Like Chase Meidroth's athleticism is higher than I was expecting, better than I was expecting based on the scouting reports that we got from the Red Sox system. His throwing arm, sure, it's 28th percentile. He's averaging a little more than 80 miles per hour from the shortstop position. He's got what would be considered a weak arm at the position. But on the range side, he's 95th percentile in Major League Baseball when it comes to range. He's added 5% success rate over his StatCast estimated percentage of plays made. He's worth 5 outs above average defensively this season. 4 of those outs above average is at shortstop. Defensive run saved, he's at 1, but he's not negative. He's not a detriment defensively at shortstop. So I think I'm sold, Jim. I think I'm on the bandwagon of, yeah, Chase Meidroth can be a major league shortstop, which now enters the question for me, what do you do with Coulson Montgomery? Which there's been questions about Montgomery's ability to be a shortstop, not even just in the major leagues, but also in the minor leagues. So let's start with the first part. What do you
Mhm.
think about Meidroth's defensive play so far at shortstop?
To me, he reminds me a little bit of Yolmer Sanchez in terms of not being a physical specimen, not being somebody who's super fast, like he's quick or has some, good quick motions, but is not somebody who's going to like lead the league in sprint speed or anything. But he gets rid of the ball quickly. Like I think that was the number one thing with Yolmer was that his hands are really fast, his ability to transfer either at second base being able to do the quick pivot and fire the ball to shortstop, or if he's coming across the bag, just get rid of the ball to glove to throwing hand out. I think Mydroth has something similar, maybe not as fast, but compensating for the arm, compensating for maybe not somebody who's going to be just making sensational plays, cross body throws, jump throws across the diamond. That's not going to be a strong suit, but in terms of getting the ball out, and even if he has to bounce it, you're giving a good hop for right now. It's Tim Elko at first, and that's a pretty good combination right now. So it seems like he's fine. Like it's there haven't been many plays that made me think like, oh, he's stretched out there, or a ball gets through. I think it might also be, and I'm curious what this looks like at the end of the season, might be part of the White Sox better positioning as well, that he isn't required to make the sensational plays, or he isn't. There aren't many grounders past the diving Meidroth, like there might have been in other times of just like, wait, why isn't somebody there? I think, especially on balls up the middle, I think a lot of cases where they cut from the center field cam to the home plate cam and somebody's there. Maya was there when he was playing, and then like Meidroth's there. So I think there might be some positioning elements too that are helping him to where even if he is somebody who is a little bit range deficient because of just his lack of foot speed, that he's making up for it by whether it's pre-pitch positioning, whether it's pre-pitch motion, because we know they've emphasized that in lieu of like traditional stats to brag about, that maybe he's an example of somebody who's actually being able to put himself in better position to field balls, and so he doesn't need the physical gifts that other shortstops have had.
If I can give a not devil's advocate, contrarian take. Not even that. Anyway, I think as much as he's playing his way in the shortstop, he's hitting his way to be an everyday shortstop. Like if he were fielding the well, like statistically like this, but running like a 75 WRC plus, I think it's like I think it could be a lot more taken like, well, it's good that he can do this, but it's a utility profile because like the bat isn't playing in a way that we're really going to prioritize him being at one spot, which I think is kind of like a bucket Brooks Baldwin's got put into, where they kind of assess like, we think the offensive potential is not where Coulson Montgomery is, so we're going to have him kind of earn his way by being available for wherever there's a spot, based on need, rather than just giving him a spot and dedicating it to him because the ceiling's there. So I think if Chase wasn't hitting, they might still be like, well, Colson's our chance to get big time surplus value out of this spot, so we're going to give it to him, and Chase will he'll find at bats where he finds them. Whereas what he's doing is like, well, this guy kind of has an important role in making this offense go. At this point, it looks a little hard to see like him not being someone who just needs to be one of your best nine in there. So let's dedicate a spot to him. And I think it gives him a bit more staying power than even just fielding position really well does.
So then that leads to my second question. Let's say Jason Meidroth can make this stick, Jim. And to James's point, he's still hitting, carrying it better than 110 weighted runs created plus for the White Sox. Will Venable feels confident to continue batting him either leadoff or second in the lineup, and he's playing this well defensively. Is this the time for the White Sox to start trying to experiment another position for Coulson Montgomery, moving him over to third? Or I like the idea of moving him to left field and try to utilize his athleticism that way as well. We know that Andrew Benintendi is one of the worst left fielders in Major League Baseball, and the White Sox are just rotating other guys like Austin Slater and Joshua Palacios in left field ever since Mike Tauchman has returned to the White Sox. So it's not like there's a huge hurdle for Coulson Montgomery to clear to put a stake into an everyday position defensively for the White Sox if you try to put him out to left field. Like, what do you think about that idea, like trying to experiment other positions now in AAA with Coulson Montgomery?
It's hard to say just because Montgomery keeps getting hit by pitches right now. Every time it seems like he comes back from Arizona, finds a groove, takes a pitch right in the kneecap, misses a little bit of time, comes back to two-homer game, ends with him getting hit in the hand. In both cases, X-rays are negative, but Montgomery hasn't played since. Like he missed the entire weekend, so he's out. So I'm not necessarily closing the door on him playing shortstop. Oddly enough, it seems like it's been the better side of his game in Charlotte's. Like people have been either, I'm not sure, pleasantly surprised is the right term, but not the problem when it comes to his readiness in the major leagues. Like the bat to ball was the bigger issue, and the shortstop play was fine if he can get there, or like good enough to at least try him out there and then see how it shakes out. And then if he's not able to handle that position, then maybe think about it. But if Montgomery's game offensively comes together, he might be somebody who falls into that, like what the role James was describing in terms of if he is a lefty patience and power guy and the hit tool is what you have to worry about, then he's somebody who maybe has to find weighs in. Now, I think with Miguel Vargas at third, yeah, I guess he can always slide over to first because Tim Elko right now is not the fixture. I think Elko's really going to have to mash his way to upset like Montgomery being frozen out of the infield. And I think Vargas is not an exceptional third baseman, so he would be the guy you move first. If you want Montgomery still making infield motions and having left field as the bigger off-season project, wait till he has some time in the winter and even spring to get used to running around the outfield. But I think overall, big picture, if Montgomery is somebody who's more of a if not a platoon bat, at least somebody who is going to have the bigger adjustment period because the hit tool needs to be shaped to catch up to major league pitching. Whereas, Meidroth had a full season of excelling at AAA and had nothing to prove there when it came to, hitting for average and getting on base against AAA pitching. That perhaps to stabilize the infield, Meidroth is more or less the fixture at shortstop, and Montgomery is maybe a third baseman. You slide over to shortstop to give Meidroth a breather. But given that Meidroth has played, some second base as well as of late, like he's not the everyday shortstop, and like they've liked to mix him up, I imagine that's still going to be the case. I mean, like they certainly don't like Brooks Baldwin at shortstop. He has not played there at AAA. He's played everywhere else but AAA. So it still seems like if Montgomery is not plan A, he's at least going to be plan B. And between Meidroth, playing through some aches and pains and Montgomery doing the same, that perhaps, they still want double layers of shortstop protection there. But certainly, given the way Meidroth has played both offensively and defensively, and that he figures to be the easier bet for everyday production in some form or another, I would, given that my approach to shortstop was let Brooks Baldwin handle it first, just to give him position. Like, now that Meidroth has taken that job and run with it, stick with him there and then shape other guys around it.
James, have the White Sox said anything to the idea of moving Montgomery around, Coulson Montgomery around?
He split time at third, and that kind of originated with Meidroth being there to start the season. And they've said that's something to have in his bag. But I think left field would be an off-season thing if they try to do it. And I think it's narratively hard for them is the right way to say it, but like it's hard for them to kind of say we're still all in on Coulson at short and start peeling off of it before he's kind of even in the majors or established. Like I think it would be some cracks in the armor of what they say they still expect Coulson to be to already start like, yeah, we still think the world of you where you're going to be what we think you are. Also, we're preemptively giving your job to Miguel Vargas and Chase Meidroth because you're never going to be able to unseat them. Like I think that'd be emitting a point of getting to Coulson that they would even say like they're just not at. I think they still expect him to kind of bash his way into that picture in a way that makes it a little bit inarguable at some point.
He's not Brian Ramos,
right? Who is getting brought up as going back to the outfield once more.
Oh, is he? So they've given up at third base with Brian Ramos?
He's playing third like pretty regularly at Charlotte, but it's being discussed like, oh, we might play him at left field a bit more, which is something he worked on in the offseason and has taken fly balls before.
Yeah. To defend Tim Elko, defensively, I think he's been solid, Jim.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
You can tell a big difference between Elko and Vaughn.
Yeah, and big being the operative word, like just catch radius is there, and also just the he graded out well among his peers and coaches in the leagues he played in for having just good reactions, good hands, and good decisions. So yeah, that has translated smoothly, and it is noticeable. As Vaughn goes through his I guess it's kind of like it's almost like a rehab stint at AAA, like try to get him back on track. Recovery.
I don't know. Look, one guy, homered and drove in 4, and his team won today, and the other guy struck out with the bases loaded. Makes you think.
No, I mean, like, Vaughn he's the production starting to tick up. He's drawing more walks at AAA, and we never really saw him at AAA. I don't know, like, if that's something he would have done, or would he have chased a bunch of pitches in the shadow of the zone and gotten himself out or weak hits there too. But like he's probably nearing a return based on the way he's producing as of late to where if they go back to him and Elka goes down, like it will be noticeable as throws go across the diamond, as grounders are hit to the right side, just how much more ground Elko covers.
Yeah. I just think at some point you're going to have to be prepared with Coulson Montgomery for some type of adjustment. Again, I know we've been beating this dead horse, but in the winter meetings, it really sounded like Coulson Montgomery was plan A at shortstop. Then suddenly he wasn't plan A at shortstop during spring training. He got optioned. We had to watch Jacob Amaya try to hold down at shortstop. But here we are in June, and Chase Meidroth has exceeded expectations offensively and defensively, where if this sticks, okay, it's going to be hard for Coulson Montgomery to move Chase Meidroth off a position that he's been successful at, because Meidroth has set a bar pretty high defensively, not even just offensively, but defensively, that if you move Meidroth over to second and you plug Coulson in because that was your original plan last December, and Coulson's bad at it, then it's like, now what? It seems like Coulson Montgomery wouldn't be prepared to play any type of defense in the major league. So something I'm keeping an eye on. But yeah, Chase Meidroth, congratulations. You've converted me. I did not think you would be good at the shortstop position, and you've been a lot better defensively than I was expecting.
Under promised and over delivered.
It's like to the front office's credit that just because like they messaged Colson Montgomery so hard seemingly off season, that they at least recognized that he wasn't ready to do that in spring and didn't stick to it, which we can think of past instances in the White Sox history where they have kind of just stuck with plan A as they were taking on water, but they never, if Meidroth taking over his position was something that they foresaw or like was a secondary like outcome that they were happy with or anticipating being happy with, they did not communicate that effectively in the offseason. They didn't really bring up a lot of things that they thought was possible good outcomes other than Coulson taking over the position.
Can you ask Chris Getza next time you chat with him, or even that if it's worth a text message being like, Chris, how do you assess Chase Meidroth's defense at shortstop? Are you surprised on how well he's playing?
I mean, I asked him about that a fair amount in spring, and he said yeah, he showed well there, like in the idea that like he did prove something to them the way he played in spring. They certainly played him there heavily to the point where I think by the end of spring, we kind of all were a little surprised that Chase went down because it kind of seemed like he was winning that job based on when he got promoted and the timing of it. Maybe he always had. But I think that by the end of spring, they were singing a tune where like, yeah, Chase can handle this. But you also thought still that he was basically a caddy for Coulson's eventual takeover, on the premise that like, oh, it's just his back and he's a little behind schedule, but there's nothing out of sorts here, which obviously didn't reveal itself to be the case.
Chase Meidroth, I think on Fangraphs, is in the top 3 in American League rookie position players when it comes to WAR. Like Jack Wilson's having rookie of the year type of season for the Athletics, but that's how well Chase Meidroth has been playing for the White Sox this season. So something to ponder, something to continue watching, especially if Meidroth can continue this level of production, both offensively and defensively. Thanks for watching the latest Sox Machine video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sox Machine. And if you ever need something to listen to, subscribe to the Sox Machine podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Spotify and Apple Music.